Hey, this is Josh from Sugartooth. You guys are watching the Heavy Galaxy Show.
Great. All right. We appreciate you coming on the Heavy Galaxy Show with us, Mark. I know you're obviously joining us, as we can see from the road right now.
Yep.
As I believe you guys are in Chicago tonight,
we are.
Correct? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, we're at Reggie's right now. So
very cool, man.
Upstairs chilling.
Nice, man. So how's the tour been going so far, man? Fill us in.
Very good. Very good. We started last Friday at St. Vitus. So we've done, excuse me. So we did Vitus, then we did Kung Fu Necktie in Philly, then we played in Pittsburgh. Wow. And then we did Indiana, Ace of Cups. We were in Kentucky last night, and we are in Chicago right now.
Very cool, man. Very
Right
cool. Well, it's. I know it's been a little while since you guys hit the road. So I mean, 5 years, obviously, since the last record too. You got the great new record out, Remedy. And I'll say, man, just from in my opinion, I think it's the best release you guys have done to date. I mean, the riffs are through the roof. I mean, your vocals, there's different things you've done vocally on this record. So, I mean, my question, I guess, is obviously, I'm sure the pandemic was one of the reasons it took so long for the record to come out. But do you think that also benefited you guys, that you were able to sort of maybe experiment a little more than you usually could, and maybe you edit some new elements and stuff? Yeah, go ahead and talk about that.
So literally, I probably wrote like 20 tunes. Doug probably wrote like 20 tunes, if not more, during COVID. Excuse me. Yeah. So, I ended up taking like a few lessons from like Chris Broderick. So I think, we got, I think we got back to our roots, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Got a new drummer who's been amazing. So, we definitely tried to make the best out of, everything shutting down, shall we say. Mm-hmm. And then, we did Europe. I think we did 19 days in Europe in October. And then, this tour. But, we ended up playing I think like 5 of the new songs in Europe, and they went over like amazingly. And, we're playing like 6 or 7 on this tour, and they're going over really, really well. So, I'm excited, and people are really digging the new album. And I agree. I think it's our best one to date. I think, what we had all, been hearing in our heads and ears and everything. I think finally we were able, to get that out and put it on vinyl. So I'm really excited.
Very cool, man. Yeah, and one of those elements, that stand out to me is your vocals. Obviously, you've, I think, really upped your game on this record. I mean, definitely hearing some harmonies and hooks that we kind of haven't heard before. And what I love about it, it's really unpredictable. I mean, you've got all the different, styles on some of these songs. I mean, for instance, the track Joe Don Baker, I mean, you get melodic, obviously, but then you start using some harsh metallic vocals in there as well. I mean, Pillow Talk has those hooks too. They're on the chorus. Yeah. So talk about the vocal approach and what you wanted to do differently on this record compared to the previous ones.
Yeah. So, I think I had everything written, really kind of, before. And then 2 weeks before we went to the studio, I literally rewrote 5 of the tunes. And then I rewrote, maybe 15 minutes, to be really honest with you. And then the next week I rewrote the 5. I wanted it, I was listening to like like a shit ton of like Roxy Music, Big Star, the band, D'Angelo, Stevie Wonder, a lot of like Neil Young. So, I really wanted to go at it like a heavy Motown album, and a lot of the stuff, to be really, it's just shit that I was like, I'm gonna give it a whirl. Like, Rambo 2, that chorus. I have no idea where that came from. I just did it, and I was like, what the fuck? So it's one of those things where I think I was just really trying, like, anything that came to mind. I literally, and the boys were like, all right, what about this? Or, so yeah, it was really, and I did, the vocals in 3 days.
Wow.
So it was just one of those things where stuff I wanted to try really, really worked. And shit that I'd never even thought of before, it worked even better. So
Nice.
Yeah, I really wanted something that was, I wanted something layered. I wanted something to kind of show all the influences, that I really dig. And I wanted something that, was very melodic, and really tight harmonies. So, I'm hoping that, people dig it. But yeah, I think, like, I'm finally starting to feel, confident with singing, playing guitar, things like that. So this album, I think was definitely something that, especially for me, that I really, needed to come out and show kind of where my head was at.
Sure.
Well, Marc, we go pretty far back. Last time I actually had you on one of the earlier iterations of the Heavy Galaxy show.
Totally.
And it was after maybe your last album, and I think it was your father had passed not that long before that. I remember that was a heavy time for you, sure. Actually, I just went through that just a couple years ago myself.
Sorry, man. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel your pain even more now that I've gone through it. It's kind of crazy.
Sure.
And I have great admiration for this album. What an album! Another good one. You've never done a bad one, okay? So let's get that on, folks. If you don't know who GOZU is, every one of their albums is good, but it's different, and I don't think there's any silo effect to the variations of hard rock, guitar rock action going on, but then you blend these vocals. Wow. When you think back of who are your influences vocally?
Vocally? Sure, yeah. So, when like three of my hugest are, Levon Helm, Rick Danko, and Richard Manuel from the band. Stephen Stills, Sly Stone, and then, Tony Mitchell, Brian Ferry, Greg Allman, D'Angelo, obviously like Stevie Wonder, and like for me, it has to be, I need to hear that, kind of the honesty in the voice. You know what I mean? So people, I think like that, definitely, but I really wanted something where, the harmonies were layered on top of each other, and it's something that, when you heard it, it really stuck in your ear. You know what I mean? But yeah, definitely on this album, I was listening to a ton of Sly and the Family Stone, a lot of Big Star, especially, with the way that, a lot of the voices blend. So I was really listening to stuff that was, very, very pleasing to the ear. And I think because of that, it definitely let me take more chances than, I usually would do. So, it's definitely more of, I was just doing like a shit, like a lot of Sabbath and stuff too, like that. But, it tends to be more kind of in the soul vein.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, definitely, I think, with harmonies and things like that, it's very, Crosby, Stills and Nash, Neil Young, the band, things like that. And definitely, like, even, Alice in Chains, things like that, from when I was, young. But, like, Greg Allman for kind of more of the guttural. So, just there's a shit ton of influences that I have.
Yeah.
And I think that this album kind of shows that.
Yeah. And of course, you're a guitar player also. So talk to us a little bit about what were the early influences on guitar that kind of got you into music.
Yeah. So my parents took me to see like Jim Croce when I was like 4 years old. I saw Earth, Wind and Fire with my father. I don't know, I was like 12. I saw George Benson. And then all the older dudes around me were way into like Thin Lizzy, which, Van Halen, like Tigers of Pangtang, Maiden. And then my dad was like a huge, like Willie Nelson fan. Waylon Jennings, like all the Highwaymen stuff. Regarding guitar playing and things like that, I think I'm not one that like wants to rip solos and shit. You know what I mean? I love playing rhythm guitar, like obviously, with riffs and things like that. But, guys like, definitely like, Dwayne Allman was one of my favorite, Dickie Betts, Jerry Garcia, Bob Weir, like, the Van Halen stuff is amazing. Riff-wise, it was so funky. But, and then, definitely like someone like George Benson, even like, Ray Parker Jr. on the early Stevie Wonder stuff. Neil Young is probably one of my, favorite guitar players ever. Stephen Stills is up there, a huge influence, definitely just in singing and playing. It's definitely like a, Terry Kath from Chicago, Steve Lukather. So things like that. I always listen to, guitar players that could also sing, even like Warren Haynes. Probably my favorite guitarist, now is probably Derek Trucks, but then, you have Mike from Yob, who I think is absolutely brilliant, the way he layers, his guitar and vocals, things like that. So there are definitely a lot of, I think players as I get older, that I'm definitely, getting way into. But yeah, as a kid, I was definitely, like Allman Brothers, Skinner. I mean, that definitely, with Rosington and Collins, that stuff I still listen to quite all the time. So, it's definitely in that, those were some of my early influences, excuse me, regarding guitar playing.
Just so much.
Nile Rodgers is huge too for me.
I mean, you're really like all over the map. Just an amazing amount of different stuff, different everything.
Totally.
When did you take the leap to do heavy rock music? I mean, all those are these influences, but when you've created this sound that evolves each album, might I say? I mean, early stuff reminded me of Queens of the Stone Age to some degree. Well, so talk to us about that adventure. How did you get into the doing heavy music, and then the adventure on the first few albums and so on?
Yeah. So Queens of the Stone Age is one of my favorite bands. Like I've always loved them. Like I remember hearing the first time I remember hearing like Rated R, and that stuff always always some of my go-to tunes. It was one of those things where growing up I always listened to heavy stuff, and then I played in like 7-piece soul bands. Doug and I played in a band together. It was very like Jeff Buckley, Radiohead. But I knew I knew I wanted to do something heavy, just from I think from really early on, the other guys that I would hang out with. So when it came time for Doug being like, dude, do you want to do something in this realm? And then obviously we were way into Clutch and and obviously Sabbath and things like that. But for me, like writing, like especially like Ben Gazzara and The Handler, I had never written, anything like that musically. It just was one of those things. I probably from listening to like a shit ton of Sleep, you know. So I think that, you know, we definitely wanted, well, I wanted to take really, really kind of the leap in some of the airier, you know, longer tunes. And, you know, I think though taking a couple guitar lessons too kind of got my head into thinking a little bit differently how I wanted to write. So, you know, I think that this album was, you know, was definitely something that we all wanted to really kind of, you know, to just get in there and just hammer the fuck out of. So, you know what I mean? So I just think it's one of those things based on, you know, everything being stopped for literally almost like 3 years, having to get a new drummer. You know what I mean? We were going to go in earlier and Port Dean got COVID, you know, so we had to wait like 4 more months to record. So I think, you know, because of everything, you know, that had gone on, you know, I think that's kind of where our mind was going. And we knew we wanted like a much heavier album. So, you know, there was definitely a conscious effort, you know, to have this be, you know, the heaviest thing that we've put out, but also with really, really catchy, you know, choruses and bridges.
Yeah, it's definitely heavy. But you know, I mean, that's the thing I was going to ask you is, you know, obviously there's a lot more of like a groove metal element that you guys got on this record. I mean, like I'll go back to the song Joe Don Baker. I mean, that's a real just barn burner. And as you mentioned before, you got a new drummer with Seth. I mean, how much of an influence has he had now on the band's change in direction with sound too, with the heaviness as well?
A shit ton.
Yeah.
You know, like he came down and literally like the first rehearsal, I was like, where did this angel come from? You know, like this little fucker is going to come in, and you know, he's much younger than all, and he had such an amazing, fresh, you know, vibe. And it was really, he kind of rejuvenated, you know, Doug, Joe, and I. And his groove was impeccable. You know what I mean? So I'll put it this way: we went in. Usually, you know, you do Friday, Saturday, Sunday with drums. Saturday, we start doing guitar.
Wow.
Laid down 10 tracks. Most of what you hear on Remedy is either the first or second take.
Damn.
You know what I'm saying? So he really brought kind of the, you know, the groove factor, but also really, you know, singing and playing over, you know, someone that's doing what he does. It makes it so much easier. You know, it's definitely, you know, there's some incredibly kinetic parts, but then, you know, when we lay back, you know, like if it was to the ends of clouds or something, it's just, you know, it's just, I think because the way he plays it and the way, you know, that Doug had it in his mind, it's just one of those things where everything clicked, like everything absolutely clicked. So yeah, I mean, he definitely, you know, he definitely made us step up our game. We didn't want to be shown up by the youngster, you know what I mean? So yeah.
Mark, speaking of drums,
Yep.
you remind me of Psycho Vegas and the drumming incident. I know I bring this up all the time.
Yes.
I don't even know. Maybe you get pissed off, which you're probably the last person I want to piss off because you're much bigger than even me. And I'm 6'2.5", 215 on a bad day. You're built like...
I'm 6'4", 245 right now.
Yeah, okay. You're like a proto linebacker that could go in coverage some. Or tight end, quite frankly. Damn, you're tight end, Mark.
I played tight end. I played, I think So I played hockey, I played lacrosse. I went to college to play lacrosse.
Oh, wow.
I destroyed my shoulders, so.
Wait, talk to us about Psycho. A lot of people don't know the story. I mean, we'll preface it by saying, holy shit, what a set. Your set was so on fire. The whole room was on fire. The electricity was, wow.
Yeah, so, you know, so we just came out, you know, bull right off the bat, just fucking crushing. Then we got through two other songs, and all of a sudden, you know, the fucking, you know, the bass drum head broke. And so there were no, this was a fucking nightmare. So there were no other drums in the whole fucking place. you know, and there was no like, you know, extra kick and shit like that. And I was like, there's no fucking way I'm coming here just to play a couple tunes. So, you know, so I just was like, you know what, my ass is getting back up there. And, you know, and we had it, you know, I think there was like 800, 900 people. So they were the ones all of a sudden, you know, just started clapping. And, you know, we did like a 10, 15-minute brown sugar, and the place like erupted.
It was so cool. It was so organic feeling. I think for a lot of people, they didn't know that was, you know, what song it was or anything. And they just saw you guys doing something that sounded cool. Your soulful vocals was, I mean, somewhere there's got to be a video of this whole thing, I would imagine. It was, you know, it was like the first year. It was the first year of Psycho, I think.
It was,
So obviously, not all the shit was together when it came to, you know, being able to backfill real quick with another drum.
Yeah.
And Mark, you know, the Sasquatch did a show at Stone and Dusted where Craig Riggs, which of course you know from your Boston boys up there, he's playing drums for Sasquatch, and the bass or one of them blew out, and the sound guy went and did the change while the song was going on. That video now has like 20 or 30,000 views or something.
Sure.
And the guy was also probably on acid and meth. We're not sure of the combination or what.
Gotcha.
Like he was out of his mind. He was plugging in his guitar into the sand and shit. He was creeping around the speakers.
Sure.
Keith gave him the stink eye, like, no, tomorrow, like, I'm going to fucking kill you. He was looking at him singing the song Destroyer, staring right at him.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's interesting when the drums become this strange oddity within all that, but I'll tell you, you handle it like a pro. You got drunk as fuck later on that night. I remember seeing you going, I was like, oh shit. You know?
Yeah, you know, it's just one of those things. It's like, you definitely have to be able to think on your feet, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you know, we just made the best out of what we could do. Because, again, I wasn't just going to say, all right, fuck this. We had to do it. And so, so we played it. It was great. I mean, the whole crowd was, you know, clapping. You know, and I'd probably say many people didn't know that tune, but you know, it definitely saved that set for us by doing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that sucked. Yeah, that was a fucking nightmare.
Sorry, Mark.
Awesome. Well, Mark, Remedy, I know, you know, it marks obviously now the second release that you guys have done now with Blacklight Media and Metal Blade.
Right.
And for those that don't know Blacklight, you know, Media, they're actually owned by celebrity chef Chris Santos, who I know. Yeah, I know he signed you guys after seeing you guys play one time, I think back in New York some years ago. Yeah, right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And of course now you got Brian Slagel, of course, from Metal Blade being behind you as well. So I mean, for you guys as a band, I mean, how fortunate and really important, I would say, has it really been to have those two guys helping you out behind the scenes and pushing you guys? I mean,
it's amazing,
right? Yeah,
it's you know, if you would ask me when I was a 19-year-old kid, they killed me on Metal Blade, no fucking way. You know what I mean? Not even in that. Yeah, you know what the thing is that obviously, you know, they know the ins and outs of music, but they're even better humans. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, you know, really putting out these albums, you know, you want to make the label proud, right? Like everyone that's worked on it, especially, you know, like you know, Heidi and Ryan. You know, we wanted to make something that, you know, if they were playing for someone, they'd be like, oh yeah, I work with this band. So, you know, being able, you know, to literally, like, you know, talk to Chris or you know, like, you know, having Brian Slagel like something, it's absolutely amazing. So we definitely, you know, are cognizant of that and really try to step up our game, because, you know, we want to make obviously everyone associated with that, you know, with the album proud, you know, that we are on their label.
Sure, absolutely, man. Now, I just want to ask you something. You know, I read somewhere, I think might have been a press release or something, but I know you stated for you guys as a band, how important it is for you guys on each record to set goals and challenges.
Yeah.
And that the day you stop doing that is when you would fail as a band. Now, when you say failed, I mean, do you refer to that, like, do you believe that if you didn't do that, that your music wouldn't be good? I mean, do you feel like, for instance, Remedy, it's a great record. Now, if you did exactly the same thing you did on this record, on the next record, does that mean in your mind it wouldn't be a good album? I mean, just expand on that a little bit. I mean, do you feel like you have to constantly evolve, obviously, as a band, correct?
Yeah. So I think each album you should bring, you should never just be sedentary, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think, I think all of us are playing the best that, literally we've ever been playing. So, in my mind, right, I think of everything as like I would like playing sports and things like that. So they're always that, I just think that you always have to be improving. And you also, you have to, for me, I try to bring the songwriting each time, a very honest, something that is obviously relatable. So, I think, if we don't push ourselves, to be a better band, why do you do it? You know what I mean? I'm not someone that, will go back and listen to things, which is, I had to because we're on tour, right? Try to remember some of these songs. But yeah, I just think like if we just put out shit that always sounds the same, why are you doing it? You know what I mean? If someone's gonna pay for you to go in the studio, you should knock, you should literally knock the bottom out of it. And it's just, I think, mentally, if you don't challenge yourself to make something sound different, right? Or to really, in our mind is like we wanted to crush what we did on Equilibrium. So yeah, so if it was something that was kind of just dialed in, I'd be like, If I don't want to play it, then why would anyone want to hear it? You know what I mean?
Sure.
So yeah, I think that as a band, you should always, just want, to obviously to grow, but you want to, if it's something you're going to share, with people, it should literally be the best stuff you put out each time. So, I just think there has to be that honesty factor. And also, there has to be, you can't just sit back and be like, oh, okay, I guess we'll record this, right? It has to be somewhere where you're like, we're going to do this, and it has to be better than anything we've done, and how can we do that? So, yeah, I just think there's an honesty to it, and plus, if people are going to spend money, then you have to give them something that they're going to dig. You just don't want a carbon product, you don't want it to be an Equilibrium light, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I just think, you should always just shoot, for the upper echelon as much as you can.
Well, one thing you definitely shoot for in the upper echelon is song titles.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Amazing.
Yeah. So I've answered this question so many times. So yeah, the song titles have nothing to do with the songs. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
Some people get caught up in that, and literally, like, this is pretty tame compared to the shit we were going to put on it. Title wise, it's just one of those things, where because lyrically, some of the stuff, can be a bit, dark and things like that. So, we don't take ourselves, we enjoy having fun and we enjoy laughing and things like that. But literally, we just pictured, like some dude, just like reading these album titles and like almost getting uncomfortable. You know what I mean? So we've always looked at it in terms of that, like some, older gentleman reading, and be like, what does pillow talk mean? You know what I mean? Like, or Tom Cruise Control or Clown,
what a great,
you know what I mean? So,
yeah, Tom Cruise Control. What a great name. What a genius one.
So shit like that, we just have always, we've always, it's definitely, a tongue-in-cheek factor regarding that. And plus, like, I've never fought a dragon, right? Like, I don't live in the fucking desert. Like, I grew up in Watertown, New York. So
Dragons are in the desert?
What's that?
Dragons are in the desert?
They are. I don't know if you knew that.
I mean, I live in one part of the desert. There's like a dragon lady, maybe. Kimono dragons, I don't know. They're probably in some desert somewhere.
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
Fucking deserts. Peyote, and you might actually see a dragon in the peyote, and you might see a dragon in the desert. I'm thinking.
You might.
What do you think? What do you think has been your wackiest tour partner, as far as weirdest match of a band you've, toured with?
I don't know if there's like wacky. Like we've like touring with Goat Horror was fun as shit. Like every night, was an interesting night. I don't think we've ever had anyone, that we wanted to like run off the road or anything like that.
No,
like Casualties were fun as shit. Yeah, probably. Like probably Goat Horror was, and us being big fans of them. And they're again like the nicest dudes. Like that was great. Being able to tour with them.
And that's a heavy ass band, and that's a heavy ass band. That's a deep South band too. Some Southern boys out there touring with a bunch of Yankees from Boston or wherever the heck you're from.
Yeah.
It's got to be interesting.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So, but there's always you chat with different musicians, and there's always that thing that oh you like that album? Oh man, I love that album. Or even shit like you can talk sports. There's so many things that you have to have to be able to do because there's so much time where you're just waiting, like just to play. So you have to be able to conversate, or it's going to be a miserable fucking tour.
You got to build relationships. You got to be human, because we're all fucking human. We got commonalities, so it makes sense. And hey, what would be your biggest crowd you've played in front of, and then what's the smallest, if you can remember?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, so the festivals in Europe, like Roadburn and things like that. You play in those big rooms. There's over thousands of people. Probably the I'm trying to think the tiniest. I'm trying to think where that would have been. Probably just first starting out, but I'm trying to think like. I don't know. You know what? I think like when we first did Europe, I think we were booked in like these. I don't know if they were the most appropriate clubs for it. So I think one time in Cologne. There wasn't many people, but man, they bought like $300 worth of merch. So,
nice.
But you know what I mean? Yeah. But the thing is, and I've always been very vocal. I don't care if there's 3,000 people or 3 people, we're still going to hit it. Because if you spent money to come watch us play, we're never, ever going to just dial it in. Like, fuck that. like if someone is taking the time to come watch you play, you have to kill it. You can't just be like moody and shit on stage. You got to kill it. So it doesn't matter if there's 3 people or thousands. You still gotta crush.
It's what do you think has been the smallest? Like how many more so? Like have you played for 10, 20, 30?
We probably have played for like 10 people before, years ago.
Yeah.
Just starting out. Yeah. Sometimes those shows are fun as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I mean?
Uh-huh.
Like, people are like, hey, will you play this? So, yeah, I'll play, you know what I mean? And the hang after is usually pretty spectacular.
It's always memorable, I think, for all people involved. For sure. I went for all people involved. Like I was at a show with Spirit Caravan, Elder, Moss Generator, and it was maybe 15 or 20 of us. And it was early Elder too, so a lot of people didn't know him. And Moss Generator hadn't gone on tour with Fu Manchu yet, and the venue did nothing. They didn't tell anyone anything. But we literally, a lot of us have gotten to know each other. And so when the Obsessed coming down, we're like, you're at that Spirit Caravan one, right? We're like looking at each other saying, oh, yeah. And a bunch of us are already friends. I mean, it was literally like, you could walk right up and be right in front of Wino and, look right over a short guy that's right in front of you. It was that easy. It was crazy. Would love to get you over here back to Vegas at some point. I see you on your tour. I don't know. I don't think you're going out too far west. How far out are you going on this tour? Give us a little idea of some of the spots.
Yeah, so tomorrow we'll be in Lincoln, Nebraska, and then Sunday we'll be in Denver. And then we're doing a show in Austin, a show in Arlington, a show in Houston. We're doing Nashville. We're doing Atlanta. We're doing New Orleans. And then we end up, a couple shows in the Carolinas. Then our last show is with Yob and Caven on the 10th of June in Boston. So that's nice. Our last show.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, Mark, so after now this tour, I mean, do you guys have anything else planned in terms of any shows lined up either, in the western part of the states or in Europe or anything?
Yeah.
Just those kind of.
Yeah. So we have some, ones in Maine and later in June. So we're just really, looking to probably get back out in the fall. We'll definitely do something there, either in the States or in Europe. We're looking at right now, to do some festivals and such. So, we have an amazing team. So, we kind of just let them to do their thing, which is great. We have great booking agents. So, we just kind of.
Who are you working with?
Go, What's that?
Who are you working with, booking agent wise?
So we have Aaron Gray, who's amazing from Heavy Talent. We've worked with him for a really long time. He's also, one of our best friends. So
part of that whole Boston crew.
What's that?
Part of that whole Boston crew.
Yeah. He's a mass guy. So yeah. You know what I mean? So we've been really lucky in that aspect. To be able to work with one of your buddies is pretty key.
Yeah. And what are some current rock bands or metal bands that you're digging?
Oh Christ. That I'm digging. It always goes back to kind of like High on Fire, Sleep. The new Queens of Stone Age. I don't tend to listen to a ton of heavy stuff, to be honest with you. So I mean, like Doug and Joe and Seth, they listen to way heavier stuff than me. So yeah, for me, it's definitely like the first thing that draws my ear. If the drummer's good or not. Like if a band doesn't have a killing drummer, I can't listen to it. And then and then it has to vocally it has to be something that kind of pulls me in. So I kind of have the staples that I really dig. But yeah, and still like I'll still listen to like Maiden and Thin Lizzy and all that. But it always goes back into like the staples.
The classics, yeah.
Well,
Yeah, Queens, shit like that.
The new Queen song, it's grown on me quite a bit. I just saw, they're starting to do their teasers, so it's going to be interesting to hear the new Queen's album for sure, and hopefully he rocks it up a little bit more. I think he's gone a little wayward with some of the production before, so hopefully it's cool. What's interesting, Mark, I just want to tell you, going way back when I first started getting into the heavy underground, it was you guys, Sasquatch, Freedom Hawk, and Rival Sons is kind of what woke me up. It literally took me from being a guy that thought radio validated, whether music was good or not, which of course is a fallacy because radio was created just for money and labels are as well. And it was just so amazing. And what's great is all four of you, Rival Sons, wow, what they've been doing.
Yeah.
And they're just amazing. All four of you are really on top of your game. Freedom Hawk, I rated their last album last year as my album of the year. And Sasquatch wasn't too far behind.
Sure. Yeah, and they're all really good dudes, too. Which, because I've met some musicians, that I'm not too fond of. So, so having, guys, like that, it's amazing to deal with. One thing I should put out there is like, as I'm getting older and things like that, like I really think the last few Mastodon albums have been fucking amazing. So, that's definitely something that I find has been influencing me a lot lately too, Like I've always loved Mastodon, but I just feel like their last few albums have been spectacular.
Yeah.
It just, I think he's one of the best drummers.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't matter what genre. His groove is so impeccable. I think that's also been a really huge influence. But that's probably, in terms of heavy bands, that's probably my favorite right now. Would be Mastodon.
Such a fascinating evolution that they've had over these years.
Yeah.
The utilization. I just saw them recently with Gojira.
Oh sure.
On tour, and massive show. And I had almost forgotten that, like, damn if everyone sings. Maybe I had thought it was just Troy and the drummer, but wow.
Yeah, Brett. Brett sings, Troy sings. Yeah, Brian. Yeah, Bill's the only one, but he does some yelling and stuff too.
Yeah, he does some of the early.
Totally. The more guttural sort of.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a wild ride. Well, hey, Gaff, we really want to thank you for being on the Heavy Galaxy show with us.
Yeah,
I wish you guys all the best on the road. And again, let Aaron know that, I'd love to get you out to Vegas. I barely book any shows nowadays, but you're one I would do for sure. I think you need a full set in Vegas. And we just got to talk to the drummer, make sure there's no problems with fucking banging the drums to bits. Right. And I think it's going to be great. So we really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thanks so much, Jeff.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. It's my pleasure. And thanks for digging, all the stuff we've done.
Absolutely. Good luck on the rest of the tour, too, man.
Thank you. All right.
All right, bud.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mark.
See everyone.
Appreciate it.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Take care.